Afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are tuning in from, or if you are catching us on replay. This is The Awesome Journey, and I am your host, Kelle Steinecke, along with my co-host in care, Christy Howard. And we're just two girls that connected on LinkedIn 15 years ago, live on opposite sides of the country, have giving hearts, a passion for paying it forward, and I may have prayed to be living louder in my purpose. And now here we sit in front of microphones, bringing you The Awesome Journey. And today is going to be a fun episode for us for so many reasons. You might want to take bets on the side to see how many times that Kelle tears up today, because I'm already thinking about it. But we wanted to take this time to reflect back on the year and our journey with The Awesome Journey and where it's brought us and how much things have changed in a year. And that's where I start to get weepy, and I'm already starting, is because it's just last November. I was like, hey, Christy, this is going to sound crazy, but I've been praying and your name keeps coming up. I need to do something with this domain, The Awesome Journey that I have. And I always envisioned it being a podcast, doing something to help people bring some light, love, inspiration, motivation, and hope into the world for an hour a week. What are your thoughts, my acquaintance of 15 years that we've always had a very deep respect for each other, but we hadn't hung out a whole lot together.
No, we didn't. No, we didn't. Yeah. We were in different places back then when I lived in Scottsdale. And excuse my voice, I don't know where it went. Anyway, yeah, just the video that you put out last night. Those who know me know that I don't tear up. I look at how when we started, I mean, I even remember where I was sitting when you sent me the text, and I'm like, yeah, give me a call. We just didn't know what to do, and we just jumped off the cliff. We're both skydivers, so what the hell? But we had a plan, and I'm learning that don't have a plan, just go with it. And we just kept on pivoting. And yes, the F word comes out of my mouth a lot because of the technical side and, hurricanes and all that. But we've become we're very transparent. We have just the people that we've brought on. We've been blessed with friendships and just saying, hey, would you want to come on? If one isn't even on social media, and he's like, yeah, whatever. But the stories that they share and the vulnerability and the rawness, I just always feel like we're just sitting on, around having a cocktail and just bullshitting and just sharing stories. It's deep. And I've always, and you are the same, we like deep conversations because we learn from them.
Yeah, so true.
The surface shit just doesn't work for me.
Like, I can't stand it. What is the thing? I'm an INFJ, for those of you that know Myers-Briggs. And one of the biggest things for me that is an issue is small talk. Like, having to fill in space just for the sake of filling in space is my freaking kryptonite. I mean, it is the worst thing for me. And having these deep conversations, and what we've learned over time, and I'll speak more obviously for myself, is the people we've had on. I mean, the fact that we came out of the gate with an undercover FBI agent that infiltrated NAMBLA, we kind of set the bar high. And over this 36 episodes, there have been many a times where we get off a call with someone and we go, holy shit, like that just happened. And they're going to be on the show. And hearing the feedback from people, but also what we've learned. I can truly sit here today and say I am 100% a better human being for every single guest that has been on this show, every single one of them, because we learned from each other. And I love the fact, and I pride what we do is we're just two real girls that are having real conversations about real shit. I think the whole thing with so many other shows is hearing all of these, overproduced, and I think there's a place for produced video. Don't get me wrong. I say that as a marketing executive for sure. But the ability for people that have come on here and share their stories to a level that makes Christy cry. Not just me. Um, it speaks volumes because I think that's what the world needs is we all just we're looking for true connection with one another and being able to say, guess what? We're all going through something and we connect with one another, hearing other people's journeys and seeing that they've come out on the other side. And one episode in particular with Chris Smith, a shout out, and is he made a comment about growing up. He never saw anybody make it to the other side of a hard time. He'd only seen it repeat itself. So that's what he did until he finally saw that one person who did and gave him a glimmer of hope to understand what faith was.
I share that story with,
me too.
I share that story just because about where he, his faith. I just like, everybody knows that, Kelle and I are very strong Christians. And to me, I have seen God's hand in so much this year. And there's been so much shit that's been out there. But I do want to make a comment to Charles. No cocktails. I can go call Merlot and Pinot out of the bedroom and they can come up and say hi, but that's about as far as we can go with our cocktails right now.
Yeah, it's a little early.
But no, so the stories, and for me, we're all about the mental health and the stigma for men.
Yes.
We're two very strong women. Those who know me know I'm strong.
Oh yeah.
But to be around men that can share their rawness, and it's helped me with my business, with the confidence coaching, the job seekers that are spiraling down, men and women, it's helped me more with my, my active listening, but my empathy.
Yes.
I'm so much deeper, which is weird. But to, the Here Brotherhood guys, I know that having them on, they've helped a lot of men here with the hair. But what we're doing here, and as Kelle mentioned, we're not scripted. I mean, she'll text me going, I'm running late. I'm over here working on a LinkedIn or whatever. And it's like, oh yeah, we got to get on. And it's just having conversations. And I will admit that there's times where I'm just like, oh, I really don't want to get on camera. And as you can tell, I don't really care. But once we get on in the conversations, it's just like, we don't want to get off. They run over. So
almost always. Unless we have a super hard stop because of our guest. But otherwise, we generally do run over because we get so deep into the conversation. And really to go back a little bit with just even this year with Christy and I and our journey here, when I put the video together last night, and thank you, Michael Vanzetta. Just sounds like a rad name. I love it. He sent us the raw video of the 2 interviews that we both did for his channel that highlights mental health, which is incredible. Y'all need to connect with him. We'll put it in the comments, and Christy posted our links to our individual interviews, but I just made the compilation of it last night because he sent it over to me late in the day because we just had the, hey, we got an idea. We should put this together.
Right.
And I was up very late doing it. And when I put it together, I took out snippets through each of our interviews and put it together. And I knew I wanted it to, our interviews to intertwine. And when I watched it, I mean, no shocker, I started crying. And it wasn't because of our individual journeys that we've been on. Oh God, see? We all should have taken over-unders of how many times this is going to happen today. Because I cried because I thought these 2 women who have known each other for so long and always had a respect for each other. But again, and now I'm at a place a year later where I can't imagine my life being without her, and what we've done together, not just on this show, but personally, and how many things we've gone through together, and being pillars of strength for one another, and a soft place to land when we're like, man, I don't know what's wrong with me, but girl, I'm feeling like crap. And being there for one another and truly accepting each other for who we are. That's a gift. Like, that is such a deep gift from God. If you have that in one person, you're blessed. I'm blessed to say I have that with a few people, and which makes me feel overly blessed. But it does go back to saying with LinkedIn, to say it as a source, you're one connection away of something changing your life, and this is
Absolutely.
a perfect example. And I encourage everyone, because I think what we tend to do as, year end into the holidays, New Year coming, we can be like, man, I didn't do XYZ. Like, I didn't do these things that I wanted to do. Look back and go, wow, I accomplished this, and this. And that's honestly what happened to me last night is watching, and because I'm also working on a compilation of all of our shows that I'll put out before the end of the year, knock on wood. And same Z,
You'll do
I
it.
cried multiple times because some of the conversations, it's just like, man, the bravery and the courage that it takes for people to share their stories, but the beauty of watching how everyone receives it. I mean, that's huge to me. I don't know.
Well,
Those
I
are my
think,
thoughts.
I always say the people we've brought in, we think it's just in the movies. The
Yeah.
agents, the, first responders, even the veterans. And this is real life stuff, but it also makes you look at your own shit, look at
Oh,
the own darkness that you're going through, and say, wow, they got to a point that they were checking out.
yeah.
I've been at that point. And
Hmm.
to understand that you can relate, it's relatable, and that you're
Yep.
not alone, and that you're not the only person out there struggling. And I'm not dissing that, but you see, we've heard stories of people going, we're thinking, how the hell did they get through this? How did they?
Yes.
I mean, you go back to Greg, the Major General. I mean, he had years of hell trying, understanding the bipolar too, and having these manic episodes.
Yeah.
Those kind of things, people just shut down. And he
Mhm.
didn't, because of the people he surrounded himself with. So with LinkedIn, I've been fortunate that I have made some great friendships, and they live all over the country, well, actually all over the world, because it's a networking site, and you never know who somebody knows that needs to know you professionally, personally. So I feel LinkedIn's changed. We've both been on it since 2008, and it's changed over the years. And when I saw that a big change was during COVID, because people were looking for jobs. And now, this last year, I'm seeing that people are being vulnerable and sharing their stories. And yes, I see people going, well, that should be on Facebook. It doesn't give a shit. You're sharing who you are,
Yeah.
because people are not going to want to work with you or even get to know you if you're wearing 5 million masks. We want to see that transparent person, that raw person, because we want human beings. We don't
Yeah.
want the bullshit anymore.
No, and I think even to go off of Facebook, because I do see some people on an occasion will post like, "Hey, this isn't Facebook." We're very well aware it's not Facebook, and I'm grateful it's not Facebook because I'm not a fan, quite frankly. I got kicked off
Yeah.
a couple of years ago because I made a comment, I believe, on child trafficking. Go figure. Um, is is LinkedIn became a different space. It was evolving, I think, organically on its own. But when 2020 happened, of course, the world changed, and LinkedIn became a different social media platform in the sense of a lot of people. And when I say came back to it, because it used to be just an online business card, for lack of a better term,
Mhm.
And now it came a place where, oh my God, I'm out of work. There's all these mass layoffs. People can't get hired. And they were trying anything to be like, I just need help. What do I do? I don't know. LinkedIn looks different. And people started sharing their stories of what was happening during that time, this vulnerability. And to go back even to the Here Brotherhood, because we can't say enough about them. And we truly believe and love everything about their mission and what they're doing. Is they used LinkedIn as their primary source to gain, I don't even want to say clients, users of their app to help with mental health and men supporting each other. And the beauty of that, I mean, for me, even I was like, oh my gosh, some of their stories and their videos, no shocker, they made me cry.
Made me cry too. So there you go.
Yeah, their episode definitely made us both cry. And I sobbed afterwards, not gonna lie. Is we all are looking for that because I feel like everyone felt so disconnected um, and was just looking to connect with someone else and be like, why am I feeling this way? I mean, the the difference that I feel now about suicidal ideation, passive or active, is much different than it would have been a year ago because of all of these conversations and how many people have said it, and people that we hold high as heroes, and hearing how they have struggled through the trenches and their suicidal ideation, and knowing that every single one of them had said in that moment that they were thinking they were doing everybody else a favor.
Yep.
And one line that will forever, give me chills to my core is when one said, I was surprised when I finally did reach out for help. I was surprised at how many hands were reaching back. And still that gives me goosies to my core because that's all of us. And anybody, we can't wait to help others, but we're the worst at asking for help for ourselves. And it's been so important. And I love how Christy and I, and we do kind of chuckle because we're guys, girls. I mean, totally. We both have been around and had more male friends in our lives, and not for any particular reason, just because that's our jam. Um, and getting into the men's mental health space, it's because this needs to be a normal conversation. These should not be the stigma behind it is just it's heartbreaking, quite honestly. And it's like this should be normal, everyday thing. Our mental health is part of our health, and we need to be there for one another, regardless of the situation. And I agree. You said this earlier. I can sit here at your end and say all of this, that my empathy and compassion for others has just gotten larger. I've always tried to look at people with empathy and compassion because I don't know what they're going through. I don't know what their life has been up until the moment that our paths cross. But it's made me really look back and say, we all need to be more empathetic and compassionate for one another because we need each other.
And we also have, we've had guests on with our nonprofits. We have guests on that's, they've got their passion because of their past. And things that have happened. We've got upcoming, we've got people that are fighting against trafficking, fentanyl, but also some motivational people that makes you sit back and go, wow, this is really cool listening to these people, because it goes back to our life, it's ebb and flow. And as I mentioned earlier, that my faith has really, really grown this year. I mean, it was always strong, but God had me leave corporate to start my business this year. And wasn't bringing, it wasn't about the money. It was about, I was paying it forward to help people with experience that I know. And it's been successful. And so with that, I always say, I dance with my skeletons. And my clients or anybody who knows me I always say, get out of your head.
Yes.
In the last 2 days, it sort of came to me, which I now have to copyright, but it doesn't matter. That the reason why I say dance with my skeletons, and I remember my mom always, God, don't say that. People don't need to know your past. It's because dancing with our skeletons, we're sharing our story that's going to help somebody else. So I said to Kelle, and I said to my husband this morning, it's dance with my skeletons because Jesus saved me. Ooh, I'm going to, because he did. So our sins, our story, everything like that, we're supposed to share. We're supposed to share it all because other people have to understand what you've gone through, what you've done. You're not supposed to be ashamed of it. You're supposed to show and share your story. And this is what our guests have been doing. Oh my God, I'm getting teary. Anyway, so it's cold here, in Florida. That's why I'm getting teary. And then getting out of our head, I say this, to my clients, and I do it myself. When I'm stressed out and I'm in my head, I just give it to God. So get out of your head and give it to God. And the moment when you do this, and I'm not saying you're preaching religion or anything, I'm sharing with you all, because all of our guests have shared their journeys and the faith always comes out. They
Always.
see the brighter side. They see the light. You can sit there and give excuses of why you're being rejected from a job and, oh, it's ageism. Oh, it's this and that. You don't know, because it could be that the door's closed for a reason. People getting laid off that they would never have left. That door was opened and you were kicked out because you would have never left that door, out of that door, to go through another place. Because human beings, we stay. We usually stay in shit just because we stay. And I see the shift this year that people are saying, no, I deserve better. I desire better. And I'm more worthy of this. So, I mean, it's just been very cool. And I'm blessed that God kept on saying, call Christy. Heard that over and over and over again. And sometimes when people say that, like, well, how's this going to end up? And it's been a blessing. And plus I have a dog sitter when I go over to Europe.
Yes, that's so true. Because if you would have told me again from last November, because that's when the little brainchild and prayer came to me, if you would have told me a year ago that Christy and I would have, by next year, that you'll have done 36 episodes on your own show collectively.
For me.
Oh yeah, because you were gone. But okay, but with the Awesome Journey has done 36.
Okay.
And collectively that we would have done 250 some odd lives, podcasts, etc. And I would spend a month collectively in Florida. I would have said, you're out of your freaking mind. And not that Christy and I, either one of us, are people that when people tell us we can't do something, quite honestly, that's like the fuel to make us go, oh, really? Watch it happen and beyond. But we would have just been like, that's nuts. There's no way we're going to be doing on camera stuff. There's no way we're going to be doing this ourselves. But yet here we sit. And it is all because we both were like, don't really know what we're doing, but we're taking a leap of faith because we're driven to do this. And here we are, which is hence the tears yesterday, is looking back and all of the people that we have just honestly had the privilege to have on our show. And I will say, when we had on Greg Martin, who is the bipolar general, he's a retired major general from the U.S. Army. And to put that into perspective, his boss was the highest ranking officer in the country. So he's kind of, pretty badass. And if you would have told us that he would be on our show and would become our friend and one of the most incredible men, and then call us both smart on camera, which I need to take that excerpt out because I'm like, mic drop moment. he said we're smart, and my job here is done. Like, what a blessing. And so I really do re-encourage everyone to look back at all the the wonderful things that have happened to you this year. And when Christy and I were talking about doing this today, we were like, we're not going to do it like our top 3 favorite shows or anything like that. Because truthfully, when we started looking back at all of them, every single one of them has its excerpt moment, or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5, that have, again, go back and make us better human beings. And going into 2024, one of the other things that we didn't know is doing the lives. Thankfully, I think there's only one video. We don't have the true raw footage, but it is on our YouTube channel.
We're going to have to bring it back.
I know we do, because I love Bob. Is our YouTube channel. We were just like, we need to post the lives there. We're not doing anything with it yet, but we know someday we want to have everything archived there. And so we do encourage everyone, because we will be doing more with it in 2024. You'll have to wait and see. But
show some love. Subscribe to us.
Yes. Oh, yes. Like, subscribe, and share, because we do want to do a lot of things with it, and see the episodes that you have missed. One of the things I do personally love about YouTube channels or rewatching lives is you can change the speed of them to like 1.5 or 2.0, however quick of a listener you are, or however fast or slow the cadence of this speaker is. You can buzz through an episode in 30 minutes, even though it's, an hour if you do it 2 times, and skipping the intro, if you will, because there are amazing takeaways from, like I said, every single one. And we don't have a favorite. They're all our favorite. I'm so pumped about next year, though, and who we have coming up, because we're keeping on track. We set the bar high for ourselves. And I think the reason we did is not just for the audience, but also for ourselves, because we do grow. Every episode grows us and expands us. And one of the reasons that I did start this, and I said this previously, is I was feeling in a crappy place. And because the world just feels, outside. I mean, there's so much negativity and critics. People are so quick to judge others, and it's like, man, stop that practice. Yeah. But when I have found, looking back at my own life, when things have been the worst is when I get involved the most in, whether it's a nonprofit, volunteering, doing something. And that's what this was, because when you give, you get back tenfold. And this has been part of my mental health regimen for the year. Holds me accountable. It holds me responsible to be accountable for others, but it's also had me be present and real in every single moment, which what you touched on is about being an active listener and learning from those around us, and remembering how precious every day is on this side of the dirt. And regardless of how good, bad, ugly, downright shitty the world gets, we're on this journey, and we're focused sometimes too much on that destination, that we forget to be present in the beauty of the journey, because there is beauty even in number 3, in the crappiest times, even though we don't understand it. And my mom always has told me, God never gives you more than you can handle. And my response has always been like, I wish God didn't think so highly of me, because
but once we start realizing, really truly understanding that, then we at least me, I take it as an honor. I take it that he thinks I can do it. So that means, again, don't tell me I can't do something. I'm going to go through it, not over it. What's great is that, and now I just lost my thought. Forget about it. Okay.
Oops. I know. Happens to me all the time.
I had this great thought, and I was like, I'm
it'll come back, and it'll come back even better. Just like your Winnie the Pooh-ness, or was it? No, it was Linus. Linus was one of those moments, and it was like, man, that was fantastic. And you didn't even know it at the time, and it became a great post afterwards too.
Well, what I tell a lot of clients when they're in a toxic environment, I tell them that when somebody's talking to you, just think it's Charlie Brown's teacher. Just
wah, 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 wah.
Exactly.
Oh my God, I've met a lot of people like that.
So understanding what we've done, I have been, again, blessed. I'm going to put this out that one of my clients, I'm going to be starting a podcast with her because my passion is helping executive assistants. Yes, I help C-suites all over places, global and everything, but my passion is executive assistants. And so we're going to be doing a podcast. And this is another one. We're both just jumping off. And Sandy and I have no clue. We're just going to be doing this and just talking about, an executive, the assistance side of the good, the bad, and truly shitty, because unfortunately there's some truly shitty out there. But, I want to put a shout out to Dawn Cohen because I seriously would have never done a live. I would have never done a podcast. I'm just comfortable in my office doing what I got to do. But sharing people's stories, I continue to grow. And yes, I'll be 62 in a month. Today's the 18th, right? Yes. But that's okay. It's only a number. But I'm able to grow and help other people. And that's has always been my goal, to pay it forward so other people don't have to go through the shit that I did.
Yeah. Amen. And just even going back to, it's an honor of what life lessons we've been given, because those life lessons do help change the life in someone else, because the first time I ever spoke about domestic violence publicly at a women's retreat, one of the things that happened to me that day is, as I was standing up there talking about it, I truly felt like everyone was embracing me. Like the energy just felt so amazing. But it was also more that I was finally standing in my truth, really, because there's such shame and embarrassment and all the bullshit that comes from, not just society, but, but society. And I had never seen anybody that had gone through what I'd went through. Nobody talked about it. Nobody talked about emotional abuse and what that looked like, and the damage that it does, and the manipulation, the betrayal, all the things. And when you feel like you're alone, that's when your internal voice exacerbates that false narrative that we all have of I'm not good enough.
Yep.
And it depends on how many things we go through in life of how loud that voice gets. And that to me is where faith comes in. And I know I've said this before too. One of the most pivotal moments in my entire life was sitting in a loft apartment that my mom and stepdad had to sign on because I couldn't, for a whole lot of reasons at the time, leaving my ex-husband. And I had a mattress on the floor and clothes in my closet. And I was sitting on the mattress on the floor and thinking, I don't know how this happened, but for the first time in a long time, I'm sitting in a room truly by myself, but not feeling alone. And I just asked God, please help me be better and not bitter, because I didn't even see the light. And that's when you're in the deepest darkness and you don't even see the light at the end of the tunnel. It's just dark. And that is where blind faith comes in. And that is where I gave it to God. Don't know why I'm going through this. Don't know why I'm supposed to, but I can't do it because it's too heavy for me to carry. And it was quite literally killing me in so many different ways. Emotional. I had totally checked out emotionally because I felt nothing. And there's nothing more terrifying from my experience than feeling absolutely nothing.
And that's why we like this show, because we want other people to know that you can feel. The light always shines. It might take 10 years. I mean, it might, but I've also learned that through those times, there are lessons for me to get through, though I don't know what they are. And when that light shows up, there's so many times that I look back at my own life and the moving, the shit, everything that, I went through, running, looking for happiness outside of myself. But seeing that, where I'm at now, and I can go back and go, wow, that's not even that same person anymore. Who was that person?
And isn't that interesting? Because I think both
that's growing. That's all about growing. That's change. And many people, it even goes into like, working. Nobody likes change. Well, I'm sorry, a company's got to change to grow. You've got to change to grow. You got to just, okay. As a teenager, the boys, spurt up, the women spurt out, change happens. Okay, where the hell did that come from? But anyway, you get the visual. But everybody doesn't want change.
That's right.
And it's comfortable staying in the place that they think that that's where they're supposed to be, even if they're miserable. And that's why a lot of our guests and, have sat in that car and said, I'm a burden to somebody. Nobody's going to care. Nobody's going to miss me. If I'm gone, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. And that's such a sad place to be. And this is why we do say, reach out to the person you haven't seen in a while, heard from in a while, what have you, whether it's a LinkedIn connection, a personal connection, because you just never know. That text, because there has been a guest that literally the text message that came when he had the gun in his hand in his truck and got a text from his brother that stopped it from happening. And also giving yourself grace. It is okay if you've been there and thought those awful things. And one of the things I wanted to be sure to say on top of it with domestic violence is one of the phrases that I hear from people that just quite honestly pisses me off when people go like, well, if it's that bad, why don't you just leave? Because y'all don't know. You don't know what it's like when you're there. And I will say my experience changed how I previously had also thought about it. I thought domestic violence was about low socioeconomic situations, drugs, alcohol. It was in a box of what society said that it looked like. But it doesn't look like that. It looks like me. And I, October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And I love that everything goes pink, but I wish there was more purple for so many reasons. But I also wish that all of these things that are months, like it's great that it has, that it's amplified at a point in time, but those things aren't just during those months. Those impact people every day, all the time. And to go back to my thought on domestic violence, to anything else, Christy and I, neither one of us really understood bipolarness. And then, bipolar 1 from bipolar 2 is not judging when you don't know. Because when you judge something, and Christy says this a lot, and I 100% agree with it, it's because it's a mirror that you're looking in and you don't want to see how it impacts you. It has nothing to do with the person. So when you're passing judgment, and this is a good challenge for the beginning of the year, or you can start it now, is pay attention to when you judge something. First of all, you'll be astonished at what a regular practice it is for our brain to do so. But then ask yourself, why? Why am I judging this thing the way that I am? Because it's igniting something in you that makes you uncomfortable. It has nothing to do with the other person. And to go back to the bipolarness, bipolar 1 with Mike Vanzetta, in 2019, he was just diagnosed, and his HR department told him basically, you can't tell anybody or say anything because it makes other people uncomfortable and you may lose your job. What a horror. 2019 was not that long ago. But
I have this odd feelings. A lot of companies who sit there and, preach about the mental health and even the DEI and all that stuff, they're full of shit. They're truly full of shit. And, it just, but it goes back to when you judge somebody, are you wearing their shoes?
Nope.
You know, and does it matter? I mean, you know, why are you judging them? I'm because I grew up always feeling that I was judged. And now it's like, I don't really care. I know who I am. But that took many years of, you know, through the depression and and just understanding who I was. And that doesn't happen overnight. I mean, I talk to people daily, and you know, you're still trying to figure out. I'm still not there. I'm still, you know, it's every day is a new day to change, to grow, to learn. And I was never one with college or high schools. I went to 3 high schools, but I left
School
college
in
with a
general.
point zero. I left college with a .01 after 2.5 years. It was the early 80s. I'm going to use that excuse if anybody knows what happened in the 80s. But I love the school of hard knocks. That's why I've always liked these deep conversations. I love learning from other people's life. That colleges, and we're not going to go in that direction right now, but colleges are not going to teach you. So our guests, they're my teachers. They're and you know, a lot of them are younger, but they're teaching me about life, and the mindset. And so going into 2024, yeah, we're going to be pivoting. You know, yeah, we're about mental health and everything, but every time Kelly and I connect with somebody, I'll connect with somebody and I'll send it over to her, and she's like, "Oh yeah, I've already connected to him. I already sent him a message." Or I do the same thing. We're yin and yang, but we're on the same mindset. Even though I'm in Florida, she's in Arizona, we don't. We try to connect weekly. That doesn't always happen. This is usually when we see each other. But we see people's profiles, and we see something in their profile saying, we need to connect to this person and know more about who they are. So
true.
a little bit about the LinkedIn, that's your business card, that's your marketing page, that's letting people know who you are. Just a little bit right there, your brand. But so if you all, you know anybody, or you want to talk to us, send us, let's get on our calendars and have a conversation. Because everybody has a story. And
it
you
helps.
might not think your story's that interesting, but nobody likes marketing themselves.
The worst. I mean, I'm a career marketer, and when it comes to, and I, which is also interesting because after 2020 and I got laid off, I'd spent my entire career marketing other people, helping with other brands and doing things. And I was like, I've done nothing to help myself, in the sense of I didn't do anything that was focused on thought leadership. Some of the things that I dig, et cetera. And that's been part of this journey for me. And, you know, kind of as we come on the top of the hour, I just want to share this one little last story and encourage everyone going into 2024 is how I went into this year. And I plan on going into the next year the same way, because I need to remind myself, because y'all, just because we go through and we're in a good headspace, it's still life, and it's a heartbeat. We have ups and downs, and it's always a challenge. It's not always great. And some days feel amazing, and some days feel like complete crap. But Christy and I have both gone skydiving, and I use that going into the new year, jumping out of a plane, and I had the jumper dude strapped on my back. And the door opened to this tiny little Cessna, and he was like, "Scoot to the edge and put your feet underneath the plane." And then he would roll out over the top of me. Well, the door opened, I scooted to the edge, and the photographer was on the wing outside the plane. And my feet went out the plane, and I look down, and of course, all you see are all those like perfect squares and circles, which you always go, how does that happen that way? But your brain is, and my feet went immediately to the wing to be like, oh no. And because your brain is going, what the hell are you doing? Fight, flight, and fear. Fear was going, oh no, because this is not normal. You're not supposed to do this. And the jumper, he kept saying, Kelle, put your legs under the plane. And I'm like, I'm trying, man. Like it happened like 3 times. And then finally I put him under. We rolled out, and it's anybody who's done like a roller coaster or driven over a hump and your tummy turns over. It is a tummy turn like you have never felt before in your entire life. And it almost feels like your lungs may come out of your mouth. But the free fall is loud and chaotic.
Yep.
And exhilarating. I'm not going to lie. Every single picture of me, I've got an ear to ear freaking grin. But when the parachute is pulled and it settles, you sit in this space of silence that is inexplicable. And I just remember feeling this connection with faith, and being like, if I were to go now, I'm good. And not that I didn't want to land, like, let's be clear, but anyone who's done it understands this sense of peace is incredible. And then you just feel love, excitement, all the good things exuding from your soul. And the reason I use that as an example, because that's what life is. Fear is what stops us from doing anything. That's my feet on the wing.
Yep.
But when you roll into it and go into the chaos and the loudness and the scariness of all of it, when you get to the other side, it is so beyond what you could have ever expected. And that's how we should face life every day. And it's number 4. And that's how we should do it. And I remind myself, because I still get stuck by fear on an occasion, because I'm a human being. And anyone who's seen the image that I put out of Christy and I, it's an animation that I pulled off of Dali, but it's jumping from the cliff of fear into the most beautiful destinations that you never know unless you jump into it.
Absolutely.
So those are kind of those are sort of my wrap thoughts on.
I'm impressed.
On what I wish. Yeah.
I'm impressed. Well, my jump was a little bit, I had all those feelings. I mean, I just jumped. I didn't stop. I just was like, what the hell, let's go.
Of course you didn't.
And it was over the ocean. It was,
if you notice on the animation image, you're in front, because it's like, you would be like, run, jump. And I'd be like, okay, wait a second. Yeah. I got to logically think about this for a moment.
Well, I've lived in a lot of changes in my life. I just run and jump. And many times don't think before running and jumping. But I remember the only part that I was just sort of like, wow, they were having to slow down. So they were going around and around and around and around. And I was getting as dizzy as shit. And I'm just like, dude, seriously. I want to enjoy this moment, but you're making me really dizzy. So when I finally went down, I woke up the next morning and went to the doctor's. I had a severe earache before I even realized that I had jumped off. So don't go doing, but it was like, it didn't even bother me because the jump was just so cool, except the dizziness. I'm more of a roller coaster person over going around in the, whatever those little things are, they roundabout things. But what you said is, our faith, I have a cup that says, faith over the fear. Our fear, we're fearful of what? You don't know what it is.
Right.
So just jump.
Yeah. And we always make up
in our head to get out of your head with the conversations that you think that they're going to have and what they're going to say. You don't know. You just don't know.
Yep. So true. And what we make up in our head is always way worse than reality would ever be, which is also a crazy thing, right? We always go to the most extreme, awful scenario. And that's where we really get screwed up. And that's when you need to pay attention though to yourself and be like, hey, knock, knock, Christy, girl, I am spiraling and I'm triggered right now, and this is happening. Let's talk through it and why. Because we're human, y'all, and it happens, and it will continue to happen. It's just about being aware. But fear is part of the journey. It just is. So get comfortable with being uncomfortable. That is some of the best advice I've gotten over my life. There's been a lot, but that being one of them, because it's part of life. It's the heartbeat. It's the ups and downs, and that's what living means. Every time we have a down, we've learned the most from the darkest places, and the irony in that,
Yeah,
truthfully. Um, and you also find out who your people are, who's there when you're in that dark space.
absolutely. Absolutely. You don't
So
realize what you're learning when you're in that dark space because all you want to do is get out, but you realize how strong you are because
yes,
you want to get out.
and I think I've had people tell me in the past, and I know you have as well, Christy, is when people say, like, I could never imagine going through what you went through. I would never be able to do it. And it's
No,
like,
no.
nope, you haven't been called to task. I didn't have an option.
Right.
You have to do what you have to do. There is no choice. Because if you would have told me before some of the things that happened in my life, specifically the way that I lost my father, I would have said, "Ain't no way I'll survive that. Like, no way." Um, but look at me, I have. And for all of us, we've all survived 100% of our bad days, and that's a pretty damn good track record. And we forget about that sometimes.
I
So,
remember the last time that I was in a really bad place and suicide came in my head. And then the common sense, the other side, they were both always battling in my head. And it's like, wait a minute. I do this. I don't know how the story ends. I
oh, love that.
don't know. I don't know. And so I pulled myself up and realized that I have all the reasons to live because I have a story. And
Amen.
I want to see, I want to see it I want to see it to the end. And if I'm anything like my mother, who's 87 and hangs up the phone going, I have to go do Pilates and play golf and ski, it's going to be a long time. I don't plan on going anywhere right now because I want to go through the good, the bad, and truly shitty.
Mm-hmm. It's a blessing. And, let's be clear, we could go on and on for days because it's just a fact,
Yeah.
especially when I've got my girl here with me, because we could talk forever. And that's just a true story.
That's weird.
Um,
Leslie, some of the comments aren't posting for her. I've got
oh,
comments coming in, but I don't know
I
how many.
but Leslie, I swear it's LinkedIn. It has been a thing for months. I don't know what the dealio is. And there's other things with LinkedIn. I've seen other people posting about, shit not working properly. And it's
Yeah.
just a true story. It's not.
Well, it has to
They
do with Restream and LinkedIn. They don't really mesh, but
Right.
it is
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
it is.
They don't love each other. And, but as we do begin to wrap here, Christy, do we want to talk about who we're having next week?
Oh, so on Facebook, because I've always been a Facebook person because I used to do the events, the Brian Terry events, and that's how I've gotten to know a lot of the guys. I got a memory 4 years ago. I connected with him. We became friends. So, yes, Leslie, yes, very
Oh,
so.
amen. It
Mercury in
totally
retrograde
is.
is, but we're
It's all
also
about technology too and
yes,
communication.
yes. You can also do also renewing and everything.
Yes.
So we have Craig Sawyer coming on next week, and he is God, an amazing man.
Oh,
He is
incredible.
Veterans for Children, and I'm not going
Veterans
to go
for
really.
Child Rescue. I think it's VFE.
Yeah, Veterans for Child Rescue. My bad.
Rescue.
It's
Yeah. No,
V
no worries.
V4CR.
Sure.
My bad.
Yeah.
So that gives you an idea. Veterans, Children Rescue. But his faith, I
Oh,
just,
no, it's incredible.
yeah, for what he's, a Navy SEAL. But I'm looking forward to hearing more of him sharing his story
Yeah.
And following that, in mid-January, we have Ben and Jessica Owen on. And
Yes.
they, like Chris,
Oh, amazing.
they had a shit life.
Oh, y'all, you have
They
no
had a
idea.
shit life. And how they've come through it and everything that they do for just even for the country, but for their area, it's the trafficking, the fentanyl. It just
they're amazing.
it goes back to judging. You can sit there and judge the people that are on that street corner, struggling, living out of a truck, brought up in a area that you could never even imagine living. You don't know what their stories could bring them. Oh, I'm going to get choked up. You have no idea the shit that they will go, what they go through by their choices. However, the other side, they're all gifts of God.
Amen. And I honestly think that some of these people that we're talking about, specifically Ben and Jess, it made me think when you were saying that the amount of pressure that it takes energy wise to create a diamond, and they are the perfect example. And everyone, I mean, I could put so many of our guests, but next week with Craig Sawyer, y'all, not only what he does is incredible to protect each and every single one of us, protect our children, but he's one, I swear he will leave and be like, I've just been to church, because he's one of those calls definitely for me that I hung up and I was like, I'm a better human just for those 30 minutes that I just spent with him. Because he is so connected to his faith and it exudes him. And
he's fighting the fight. He is
amen.
fighting the fight.
Unapologetically. And we applaud you loud and so proud. And again, one of those moments that it's like, I don't really know where this journey for Christy and I is going, but I'm telling you what, I love every single moment
I got
that I get
two.
to do. I know, which is huge. I mean, that's a record for you. Is that we get to do this and we get to share it with all of you. And such a blessing. And it was by the grace of God that all of this happened. And every single guest that we've had, and we never made it part of our show that you had to be a person of faith, but every single story ended up coming out that it was because God showed up in their life and saved them and helped them to the other side, or now they focus on that as a way to live their life. And it's just sort of been like, God, weird that you're throwing all of these people that have done these most incredible things along this journey that we're all on together. And it's such a blessing. And I could not say enough to thank everyone. And so blessed that, God brought you into my life, Christy. And this will be 6, because I'm a better human because of you.
Don't do that. Stop.
I know. You're welcome. You're welcome. That's
no.
3. Y'all, that's a huge record. I'm the crier.
We both, we've learned, and I think other people have learned through our shows, that friendships, you never realize what's going to happen when you know somebody. Right. And you're never going to, so don't ever we take people for granted. We take our family for granted. We take life for granted. And I'm blessed that God just said, hey, call Christy when I needed it.
Yeah.
We're yin and yang. You're my soul sister, sweetie.
Yes. Amen, sister. Love you to pieces.
So with that, that's all I've got to say right now.
So yes, because I think that's enough. And thank you all for joining us today. To those of you that are listening, because I know several of you, I did get a few messages saying, I'm listening. I can't comment.
Oh, I do want to wish everybody a Merry, Merry, Merry Christmas, but we'll see you
Yes,
on the 26th.
yes. Merry Christmas. We will be here next Tuesday, the 26th of December, the day after the birth of Christ. So we hope all of you celebrate and enjoy, be present in the moments with your family. And remember, it's not about the gifts that are under the tree. It's about the gifts that sit around the tree with you. And until next Tuesday at 1:11 p.m., just remember we are all on this journey, and together we do make it awesome. Have a great
Yes.
day, everyone.